Boy, I sure am glad that there is no crossover whatsoever between my favorite children's video game and the US military-industrial complex. Haha, what's that? A letter? Oh, okay, my god. Yeah. A little weird. Okay, oh, it's addressed to May and Brendan, the protagonists of the Gen 3 Pokemon games. Oh my god, they're being conscripted. It says here they're needed to fight a race of super aliens called the Quiznos that hail from a distant galaxy. Apparently the US has spent billions of dollars researching some kind of high-speed weapon called the Mach Bike? That doesn't seem right. Isn't Quiznos a sandwich place? In Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, once you reach Mauville City, you have the option to take the Mach Bike or the Acro Bike. The Acro Bike lets you do cool wheelies and like sick bunny hops and like everybody thinks you're really awesome, but the Mach Bike is faster. Of course, the Mach Bike can also super easily go up these like mudslide slopes and let you cross cracked floor tiles definitely very easily in places like the Sky Pillar where this time it's gonna, I know the Mach Bike is fast, but this letter says that it has the potential to be a top secret weapon. It can't be that fast, can it? Well, let's let the math speak for itself. The Gen 3 Pokemon games run at 60 frames per second. Going frame by frame, it appears to take about 3 frames to fully ride the width of one tile. 3 frames is 1/20th of a second at 60 FPS, so 0.05 seconds. But how wide is a tile? Well, how wide is the protagonist? The Gen 4 Pokemon games include the size of their protagonists in the Pokédex, and that game has a bike that can shift up a gear to be like the Mach Bike, so let's just use that player size and assume it's pretty similar to Gen 3. According to the Platinum Pokédex, the female protagonist is 34 kilograms and 1.37 meters tall. Assuming the character's width is about a fifth of their height, which is not a horrible approximation in real life, that makes the player character about 0.29 meters wide. Just eyeballing it, it looks like about 1.3 times protagonists would fit widthwise into one tile. That makes a tile conservatively about 0.377 meters wide. So given that, how fast does the Mach Bike go at top speed? Moving 0.377 meters in 0.05 seconds gives a velocity of 7.54 meters per second. That's nearly 17 miles an hour. Pretty fast, but not crazy. It's remarkable to think that a child is easily accelerating to this speed on flat ground this quickly, and then holding that speed while pedaling for incredibly long periods of time or up hills, but that's not the most unbelievable part about the Mach Bike. The ungodly fast thing about the Mach Bike is this: the turnarounds. When moving at top speed, the Mach Bike can, in one frame, perfectly turn around without losing any speed to the complete opposite direction. You might say that it's not possible for every atom in the bike and in May's body to instantaneously teleport to the other direction, but every NPC in the game does this every single time they turn around. So my argument would be that the 60 FPS we're seeing in the display of the game does not capture what happens between frames in the world of Pokémon. Maybe there's just more temporal resolution we don't have access to. Given that, how fast would the bike have to accelerate to completely turn around and maintain top speed in the span of one frame? Well, first, let's define our parameters. For our vectors, let's say going right is positive and going left is negative. Now, just like how velocity is the change in displacement over time, acceleration is the change in velocity over time. So our top speed going left before we turn around is 7.54 meters per second. One frame later, we're traveling the same speed to the right. To calculate acceleration, we take our final velocity, subtract our initial, and divide by the time it took. So 7.54 for our velocity to the right, and then minus negative 7.54 meters per second for the velocity to the left. That means 15.08 divided by 0.016 seconds, which is one frame. The result is 905.16 meters per second squared. If you know anything, and I mean anything about acceleration, your jaw should be on the floor. The acceleration of Earth's gravity, also known as g, is 9.8 meters per second squared. When people experience accelerations, it's often measured in terms of how many g's it was. If you've ever felt a heavy weight pressing down on you when going up an uphill on a roller coaster, you might have experienced 4 or 5 g's for a couple of seconds, and it's pretty intense. When fighter pilots pull up really quickly, they can sustain as much as 9 g's or even a little more for a sustained period of time. An inexperienced person might black out or vomit from that. That's only 9 g's. we're talking about 92. Granted, it's for an incredibly short period of time, only one frame, but it's still over 90 Gs. Sustained Gs are definitely more dangerous, but even over a brief period of time, this magnitude can be really dangerous. There are a few different ways you can take G-forces. If the high G-forces are vertical, that is parallel with the spine, that can be really dangerous. Horizontal G-forces, on the other hand, can be more survivable. Let's say someone punches you really hard in the face. For a very brief instant, your entire head accelerates really, really quickly. You might take about 100 Gs, but it's only for a moment and it is localized to one part of your body. Even then, you still might get whiplash, which is when your neck travels super quickly and causes problems for the spine or the neck or the head. But we're not talking about a localized part of the body here. We're talking about the entire body and the entire bicycle turning around like that. The next question you might logically have is, has anything like this ever happened in real life outside the game? Well, like with anything that deals with really high G-forces happening to human beings in real life, we need to look at high-speed racing. Wait, hang on, guys. I'm trying to transition to the next segment, but something's happening to me. Oh my god, it's the aliens. They're here. I'm being taken up into their ship. Guys! Okay, hey everyone. I've been in here for a couple of hours and they set up my microphone. They said I have to read something, but they seem friendly. It seems cool. I think it's a different food organization. Oh, hang on, they're coming back. Hey guys, yeah, first contact. Crazy. What? You want me to read from the card? Okay, all right. Oh, it's Factor 75! Wait, isn't this the meal delivery service that eliminates the hassle of prep, cooking, and cleanup by delivering gourmet pre-cooked meals to your doorstep? It is? Next card? Okay. Oh, wait, what about the global impact of this? What's that? Factor offsets 100% of delivery emissions? There certainly won't be very many options to choose from, right? Over 35 meals per week? That's nuts! It says to give a personal anecdote. Okay, oh, looked at the camera? Okay. In my experience using Factor 75, the best part is that you can cut out all of the work associated with making food. So if you have a deadline or something coming up, or whatever deadlines look like in space, I'm not really sure if you got like a boss or like a manager or like, you know, like C-suite. No? Okay, well, get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders using my link. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code with your phone. Okay, now they're telling me I've completed the sponsored deliverables and I'm gonna be beamed back to my room. Bye, it was nice to meet you. If you're traveling over 200 miles per hour and then suddenly come to a stop from a collision, think of how much acceleration would be required to stop that car that quickly. At the 2021 British Open Grand Prix, collided with Lewis Hamilton on the opening lap, and when Max's car drifted off the course, it slammed into the barriers. That acceleration resulted in Max pulling 51 Gs in the moment of impact. He wound up fine and walked away essentially unharmed, but it's still 51 Gs. Our one-frame turnaround is, granted, likely a bit shorter than Max's impact, but not that much shorter. But it's also nearly twice as strong. The highest G-force that a human has ever survived is 214 Gs by Kenny Brock in an Indy car crash in 2003. 214 Gs, and he lived to tell the tale. Here's what he has to say about it.
And that was the end of the day.
I don't know about you guys, but it feels like my man is way too casual about that. People have experienced more G-forces than Kenny did, but they're not around anymore. I'm trying to think of like ad-friendly language for this. They're at the big racetrack in the sky, where people go when they are done being around forever. Frankly, I have a pretty good inkling that this mock bike turnaround might just destroy you instantly. The likelihood that you walk away from this one-frame turnaround is probably zero. Some part of your body is gonna lag behind or the whiplash is gonna be awful. All I know for sure is that if you or I took this one-frame turnaround, we would either spend a many-frame trip in the Pokémon Center, or whatever the human equivalent is, or a permanent frame trip in a casket. And that's not even to mention the collisions. If you hit a wall in the game while riding at top speed, you slow down to 0 meters per second in one frame. That's half as much acceleration as the turnaround, but it's still over 45 Gs. Not to mention that walls aren't the only thing you can bonk into. NPCs just casually take this impact like it's nothing. This is where things go a little haywire. Let's assume that an NPC has the same mass as our player plus mock bike system. The first law of thermodynamics, the conservation of energy, states that energy has to go somewhere. It can't just disappear. What's the energy of our system? Kinetic energy, or the energy of movement, is equal to 1/2 times the mass times velocity squared. Energy at the start of a system has to be equal to energy at the end of our observation, so that means for our protagonist on the bike plus the NPC system, that the initial kinetic energy of our moving protagonist plus the initial energy of the NPC, which is 0 since they're not moving, that has to equal the kinetic energy of our player at the end who has now stopped, meaning 0, and our NPC, which is also still not moving. Now, if physics is to be believed, then our player stopping completely means that the NPC now needs to shoot off in the other direction at the same speed we were just moving, in an elastic collision, like hitting a billiards ball with the cue ball. But if neither character is moving at the end, then where did the energy go? Well, it could really only transfer into heat or sound. That means that either there's a huge crack, like breaking the sound barrier with a whip when the NPC is struck, or there's basically a small explosion of heat. Either way, not great. That would explain why the military is so interested. Maybe they're interested in these top speeds and unbelievable accelerations of the Mach bike, or maybe they're interested in May and Brendan, who casually turn around hundreds of times per save file with no perceived injuries. Either way, we cannot let them get their hands on these secrets. Now, where can I hide my Pokémon Emerald cartridge such that no one will ever find it? Perfect. Thank you so much for watching, and please consider subscribing. I happen to know that a large majority of you that watch these videos regularly aren't subscribed, so please consider clicking that little white button. You know, it used to be yellow, but now it's white. I'm so excited to see what the future of subscription button colors hold. Anyway, you can also join my Patreon, which you can see my top tier patrons on screen right now. They have access to a bunch of outtakes and bonus content from videos that I wound up not using, and that stuff is pretty interesting too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.